All right, guys, welcome back again to the channel. As usual, back to let you know what's happening right now concerning our team. Of course, this is a new month, 1st of November, and let me start by saying Happy New Month to everyone in the community. Wishing you guys all the best this new month. And speaking of this month, this is the month that we get to find out if we'll qualify to play in the World Cup 2026 because we have our playoff games uh, this mid-November. On the 13th, we have a game against Gabon, which is obviously a match that's going to be very, very interesting and difficult. There've been a lot of build-ups regarding this game. We've seen a couple of people come out and talk about it. Young, obviously talked quite a few times about it, and his latest remark is one that is filled with praise on the opponent, which is obviously Nigeria. Aubameyang said that it's going to be very difficult. That for him, he just sees Nigeria as the only obstacle for them to qualify, or the only obstacle standing in their way from getting that qualification. He sees us as the most difficult opponent at this point. He talks about the quality of our players, the depth that we have, the winning mentality, the history, the pedigree, all those kinds of things. And currently now, we have a lot of uh, world class strikers who are playing week in, week out in Europe. So Aubameyang feels that it's going to be a very tough test for his country. But again, he's still very confident, and he is saying that they have a chance. They actually have a fighting chance against the Super Eagles. But again, there have been some updates from the organizers, CAF, and FIFA. Of course, right now they've stated that they'll be using VAR technology for these playoffs. On the 13th, and this is so nice. When I saw this news, I was really happy. Because now we get to see a very quality game. We get to really observe what's happening. Every single decision taken is going to be an objective decision, an informed decision that will count towards making that match a very fair match, so that nobody can say that they cheated them, or the referee was against them or something like that. So they actually have an opportunity now to use VAR. And this is actually, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time we are seeing CAF use VAR for World Cup qualifiers. Even Nations Cup qualifiers, they've not even talked about it for once. And I've also been one of those that had been clamoring for CAF to start using VAR, to get more informed decisions, because I mean, if you look at the qualifying rounds, there were a couple of matches that we played personally. There were a couple of goals that we scored. I think Osimhen had a few goals that was ruled off for an offside. And when we saw the replay, there wasn't any trace of an offside. It was clearly onside. So I'm sure other countries have one or two complaints as well. For example, South African, fans were obviously complaining that the goal that was scored against them was a handball. Even though Kevin Bassey headed the ball and then he, brushed his hand before he entered the net. So if VAR was introduced, or if it was in use, and obviously all of these kinds of things will be checked, and then it will help the referee to make an informed decision and reduce injustice or reduce unfairness, for any of these teams that feel cheated, or that feel they have the right to actually appeal. So this is very, very nice. I hope to see CAF extend it to the Nations Cup qualifiers, subsequently, and then also the World Cup qualifiers properly, and not just wait until we are about to play the playoffs before they start to say, okay, this is when they want to start using it. But of course, guys, let's move on and talk about something else. The Ugandan coach has now come out to, react to the Nations Cup match coming up in December against Nigeria. Of course, you do know that the Nations Cup starts this December. We have Uganda as one of the three countries that will play in the group stages, but there will be the last country that will play on the 30th of December, after we will have played Tunisia on the 27th and then played Tanzania on the 23rd. So that's how it's going to be. But then the Ugandan coach has come out to react very early, about the match that's coming up in December. And for him, as usual, he shares the sentiment of a lot of people or a lot of coaches who talk about the Super Eagles. He feels that they're a powerhouse, they're very strong, they have qualities, depth everywhere, But he also has stated that they are not afraid of the Super Eagles and that they are not by any means intimidated. And when that day comes, that they are going to step up and show the world the stuff that they are made of. And this coach, Paul Put, is not exactly a stranger when it comes to playing the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He has actually played us a couple of times. One of the most famous one was the match that he led, when the Super Eagles played Burkina Faso in the 2013 Nations Cup final. He was actually the man in charge and had a very fantastic spell, or had a very fantastic African Cup of Nations tournament that year, cruising to the final. But unfortunately, Nigeria won that one. I think the goal was scored by Sunday Mba, just one goal or so, if I'm not mistaken. So this man knows a thing or two about playing the Super Eagles and is now come out to react, very early to talk about how his team is actually planning and how they are actually getting all the preparations ready to play Nigeria in the Nations Cup. But while that one is still a little bit far, of course, I'm sure for Coach Share, the focus is going to remain on how to get the results against Gabon on the 13th. And the list has been gaining a lot of momentum. The provisional list obviously must have been selected now, but it probably won't go public. Maybe what we get to see will be the final list, because of time and everything. And of course, the camp is expected to open on the 9th. So today is first. We just have like 8 days, give or take, for this list to be sorted out, and then we get to see these boys um, come to the camp. But to wrap, guys, we saw a couple of interesting games go down. Involving Super Eagles players. We talked about Victor Osimhen, Galatasaray, and Paul Onuachu's Trabzonspor locking horns today. That match was a very, very difficult match for both sides. In fact, it ended 0-0. Nobody was able to get the victory or get the goal that proves very important for these two teams. Onuachu and Victor Osimhen played these games for the full 90 minutes. You know, Osimhen had like 6 shots, but failed to convert any of them. For Onuachu, based on what I'm seeing here, there's no statistics about his shots. You know, so, but it was a very cagey game. Everything about the start is really, really similar. The possession is just almost the same, and then all the other statistics as well looks pretty much the same. Galatasaray just edging them just a little bit in this start, and the point still remains the same. As far as the table is concerned. Osimhen's Galatasaray initially had like 28 points. So with this draw now, they are now 29 points. Trabzonspor with 23 points initially. Now they have 24 points. So it's still the same 5 point difference, but it looks like Fenerbahce might have the opportunity to go atop Trabzonspor if they win their game tomorrow. Because they are closely trailing with 22 points. But let's leave that, guys, and talk about what happened in the EPL. Of course, it will be Kevin Bassey and Simon Chukwueze's Fulham got the better of Tolu Akudari's Wolverhampton Wanderers. 3-0 was the final score for that one, but I have to admit, an early red card that came in the 36th minute, gotten by Agbadu, was obviously a big reason why Wolverhampton Wanderers could not come back into the game. Although they were already losing, because by the 9th minute, Sessegnon had put Fulham ahead, and then that red card came. Obviously, that meant that any chance of Wolf coming back into the game was going to be very, very slim. And from there, Fulham cruised and then scored two more goals as well. Uh, but at the end of the day, we saw a couple of interesting performances from Alex Iwobi, who played for 89 minutes before being substituted. Kevin Bassey played for the full 90 minutes, and then Samuel Chukwueze came in the 77th minute to finish off the match. And then for Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United, it ended 2-2. Even though Manchester United opened the scoring, and then it kind of felt like they would go on and win the game. But at the end, 2-2 was the final score. Tawa Winnie came into the match in the 78th minute, but was unable to get a goal for that one. And then we'll talk about, the likes of Paris FC, who played the game today. They actually just finished their game now that I'm recording the video. But the good thing is that, Paris FC won Monaco 1-0. And the goal came from our man, Moses Simon, who converted in the 53rd minute after he got an assist from Lopez. So this is very nice to see. Of course, our players getting the goals. And obviously, when they come to represent us, we know that they will be in form in terms of scoring goals. And obviously, we will need a lot of these goals from different players, not just Osimhen, if we need to get the result. But that is the update, guys. Thanks for watching this one. Don't forget to leave your reaction and stay tuned for more videos.